Good morning, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. I'm Dan Murrell, filling in for Joe Starr, filling in for Roth Cornet, filling in for, I don't know. It's going to be a fun day. It's another, as I called it this morning, a trident of awesomeness this morning. Spencer J. Gilbert.
What's up?
Joining, as always. And Roxy Striar. It's not Fridays without Roxy.
Does this look like a trident?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Trident.
I like
you
it.
guys.
It does look a little bit like
Or
a
some
trident.
field goal uprights. Here, keep that
Same.
going.
It's good.
That's good. That's good. Yep, I was going to say an in-game thing, but I think we're on the very last
we're
days
still
of
there.
so
One more weekend.
I thought I was
one
going
more
to get
weekend
pegged in
for
the
that.
face just now, but I was going to take it like a champ.
We have a lot to talk about today. We have, first of all, thank you, fans. We were just talking about the fans really stepped up their game. We have some fantastic Fan Friday questions, so we're going to try to get to as many of those as we can. We're going to take a moment to talk about, sadly, the death of Peter Mayhew, who we all came to know as Chewbacca in so many Star Wars films. We're going to take a little bit and talk about him. But another story that broke yesterday afternoon, that's super weird, and I'm excited to see what you guys think about it. Earlier this week on this show and on many other shows, we discussed Sonic the Hedgehog coming to theaters in November, and a lot of the discussion on the internet had to do with Sonic looked a little weird. People not digging the design of Sonic.
That's not what Sonic, a real thing that exists, looks like.
Yes. Fans were not digging the design for Sonic the Hedgehog. We've seen this before. Usually people just have to deal with it. Not so in this case, because yesterday afternoon, the director of the film, Jeff Fowler, addressed the response to the first trailer on Twitter. He said, quote, "Thank you for the support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. Hashtag Sonic movie. Hashtag gotta fix fast. Wrench. Peace sign."
Oof.
I like to read tweets phonetically as if the emojis
The
are also
emojis
words.
matter
Yes.
a lot. I mean, now we know he's serious about it. He's taking out the toolkit.
Yeah, he's fixing it.
Get under the hood. Nuts and bolts.
But peace also.
There's a long and storied tradition of trailers coming out and fans not being happy with the look or the design or the feel of something.
Yeah.
There's not a long and storied tradition of a director or a studio going back to the film and changing it.
Especially with animation, which costs... like, reshoots are one thing.
Yes.
But although even rare after a trailer drops, because usually it's too late at that point, unless it's a Christopher Plummer situation.
Yeah.
But, like, this...
Animation's expensive.
This is a serious panic button move right here.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this?
I can't imagine. So how long do they have?
It is right now slated to come out on November 8th, which means they have about 7 months.
Yeah. 7 months isn't... I don't know how long something like that would take.
Closer to 6.
Yeah. It's not like it's coming out next month,
Mm-hmm.
which gives them a little bit of time. But, I mean, it's so... to me, this says more about Paramount than anyone else of, like, wow, we're desperate for a hit. Like, we can't make any more flops after Transformers, etc. Bumblebee, which was great, still didn't do well. Like, if we lose fans, if we can't get a foothold in some kind of beloved fan franchise, because what do they have left now? Like, nothing.
Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible, great. You can only count on Tom Cruise, maybe... 15 more times you can count on Tom Cruise to jump off of something. But aside from that, like, they're kind of the odd man out, and they need to bootstrap something that people want to see again and again, and that ain't it. Sonic the Hedgehog is not it.
Where are you from?
Well, that's what Sonic the Hedgehog looks like. Sonic the Hedgehog. That looks like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Bummer.
Roxy, what do you think?
You know, I'm a little confused on why they think this will work, because I have to admit to you guys, which probably will come as no surprise, I was a huge fan of this trailer, and maybe one of the only people on the internet.
Awesome.
It looks to me rad and
Yes.
and so stupid and wonderful and like just so up my alley. But the reason I'm a little concerned with this change is not because I'm attached to how Sonic the Hedgehog looks.
Yeah.
It's because that wasn't the biggest issue on the internet. People didn't like the trailer. They didn't like any part of it. People weren't liking, yes, the way that he looked, but the vibe, the mustaches, the Jim Carrey-ness of it all. People had issues with the whole thing. So you can go back and you can redesign and you can spend millions and millions of dollars on this, But I don't think that's going to get to the root of most people's problem. Not my problem, but most people's problem.
I don't know. Looking at scanning through the comments super anecdotally, most of it was like, poor Jim Carrey, like must have Stockholm syndrome, or, oh, he's blink twice if they're holding you at gunpoint to do this movie. Like, they didn't mind the Robotnik stuff so much as like, what have you done to my beautiful blue boy?
What do you want?
Well, that's the thing is there will always be a corner of the internet that is not happy with something when they are shown it. Mm-hmm. The Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, I very clearly remember when people first saw the makeup, they're like, what is this garbage? This looks terrible. These scars? Oh. And I mean, people just like, that is not the Joker. That is not the Joker. I will not go see this movie. He has a smile and it's a smile and it's not a scar and I won't go see it. And
the first image of Gal Gadot, she's skinny, she's not Wonder Woman. Yeah. Her arms are not there. It does not look like she could fight anybody.
But the thing with Paramount is they've been through this before. Because I remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when the first trailer it was the same thing. It was probably a lot of the same people saying like, those are not the turtles. Here's a side-by-side. I fixed the snout. This is a travesty. Yeah. And you know what happened? The movie came out, it made $200 million domestically. It made $500 million worldwide. And they didn't change the thing. I'm not saying now that's balancing that with the fact that like, yes, it is good to listen to what people say, but like this is a huge, massive undertaking. Like this is for them to hit their date, if they're going to hit their date, and also merchandise, marketing, posters, toy, everything that's connected to this.
Well, exactly. That's what it's all about, because that's why they're panicking so much, I think, is because if this flops, they probably have stuff like merchandise, toys, video games, a whole Sega expanded Genesis-averse. That's what they have. This isn't just about Sonic the movie. This is about Sonic the franchise, and if they can't launch one, like Paramount's circling the drain.
But you think, Spencer, if this flops, it's because of the look of Sonic?
No, it's going to flop because it's a terrible film. Very clear.
So could this awesome film, could this change that then? If all they're doing is going back and fixing Sonic into Sonic?
Yeah. It could give them that foothold. I think that's why people, why they care so much about the fan reaction is because the reason they're making a Sonic the Hedgehog movie is because they're like, well, at least the Sonic fans will see it. But if you can't even get them, it's a kind of a tough sell to be like, okay, he's a hedgehog. No, he doesn't look like a hedgehog. He's blue. He's fast. He's in our world. Here's James Marsden. Like, it's a really weird thing to sell to somebody that's never heard of him. So if you can't get Sonic fans, who are you going to get in this movie?
Well, isn't it supposed to be a kids movie?
It's one of those weird things.
10-year-olds don't care what Sonic looked like in 1992.
Yeah,
they don't.
It's one of those weird franchises, though, because like Sonic has had a very checkered video game history, more bad than good. There's been some good. He's had some spikes in like the mid 2000s and stuff like that, but this is mostly like for 30-year-olds.
Obviously, no, that's what I mean. It's obvious that Paramount
saying,
is thinking that this is their only audience, because like if this was really meant for kids don't give a crap what video game characters used to look like, because they weren't around. Right. It was 20 years before they were born.
Do you think that right now the sentiment is not my Sonic, or it's that Sonic looks like crap?
I don't even know anymore.
Well, that Sonic looks like crap because it doesn't look like my Sonic.
But is it, if they don't have a relationship with Sonic, does it still look like crap?
I don't know. It's hard to live in a Sonicless vacuum.
Yeah,
but you're the one looking at it with, untainted eyes, so I guess he looks fine.
I do have tainted eyes because I love Sonic. Okay. But I think that Sonic looks hysterical. I want somebody else who's on the internet being like, not my Sonic. Yeah. That's not him. To write a Sonic movie and draw me a Sonic.
It's a thankless task. It's hard to make narrative out of the thing that has to go to the right and collect the rings.
The game has no narrative form.
Oh, how dare you, Roxy? Okay. You're freeing the animals from Robotnik's clutches.
I can explain it in one line, and it's a long line.
Gotta go fast.
Yeah, quicker.
Yeah.
I don't know what people were expecting this trailer to look like. Yeah. I don't know.
The first
they were expecting it to look like the Sega game they played in 1991.
Yeah. Everyone
and
in the
only
theater.
that.
Yeah, but
and
that
the Jaleel
suck.
White cartoon that they watched in 1993.
Yeah. This had Tim Miller was going to direct this. He was the original director from Deadpool. So maybe they were thinking it would be more of like, Sonic did have a notorious amount of attitude. So he could be like, it's like Deadpool for kids. You know, maybe that was the idea, and then they got the script or got the direction. They're like, we don't want Deadpool for kids.
But he had attitude in the trailer. He's got the tube, Spenny.
I don't know.
Do you think this sets a dangerous precedent potentially for any time that fans are not happy with something? There's now a precedent saying like, well,
sure.
Sonic changed.
I think,
For sure, Dan. Yes. This is fans being like, we got him again. Ha 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 ha. If you think as a fan you have say in the final product, what are you going to do? Scream louder.
But you won't. I think that fans will have say in any Paramount movie coming out for the next 5 to 10 years, or until they turn it around or are bought by, I don't know, Queebids.com or something like that. Fans, they will. I think this is the sign of a really scared movie studio. Like if a Marvel trailer drops and people hate it, they're like, oh well, you know, okay, fine. So you don't like the trailer, or a Star Wars trailer will drop. They're like, all right, whatever. So you don't like it. You're still gonna see it. We're still gonna do fine, even in the crazy off chance that this flops. Paramount is like, oh God, please love us. Please love something we do.
That tweet literally was so sad.
I get it for the director.
Oh, I get why, but
that's gotta suck.
Broke my heart.
Yeah.
I hear you, and I'm sorry. I'll fix it. I took my toolkit. Here's my wrench. Peace and love. Peace and wrench and love.
just
Well,
movies.
they say he's going to fix it. The overworked, underpaid visual effects artists are the ones
Yes.
that bid a flat price for this movie
Oh,
that
God.
now have to
I
go
hope
and
not.
redo all their work, probably for free, because that's how it works now. As the visual effects industry is so competitive that companies have to just underbid for movies and then
Yeah.
get overworked, and they go out of business while the movies do $300 million. Look into it. It's really sad and depressing.
What does this look like, though? Like, okay, so they go back to their visual effects team and they say, yo, so we need a new looking Sonic. And the team's like, okay. And then do they bring in a bunch of 30-year-old people and show
Yes.
them options? And they're
I
like,
wanna
what do
be
you
at that
think of
focus
this?
group.
I do too.
Well, how do I get into that focus group? Although
At
I don't think I
Sonic
should
Fan
be there.
87, what do you think of this version?
But is
The
that
legs are too
really-
skinny.
it doesn't have enough attitude.
Sonic Fan 87 thinks the legs are too skinny.
But is that what it is? There's like 50 different Sonics
I would
on
have
the
hoped
wall?
they'd do that before,
Initially.
or at least at some point in the process, is to like show people who are fans, like, do you like this? Instead of just like the weird crotch shot posters that we got.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, that's the thing. Like, wasn't this outrage started several months ago? Like,
With the
the
posters.
people that were angry about this were
Yeah.
angry about it when we saw the first poster. So I wonder what the difference is between the people that were angry about it when there were many more months to fix the movie,
Yeah.
and the people that were still angry about it several months later.
Maybe the lesson to studios is no more blue characters. I mean, the Genie did not go over well with
Yeah.
people this year initially. Sonic, people are not liking his flow.
And Disney did nothing to the Genie.
No, nothing. And people were like, oh, now he looks better.
Exactly.
What?
We're all okay with Nebula.
that's
No,
true.
no in-game spoilers, but we're cool with her.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's going to be blue, make it a badass?
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't think that I don't think the difference between a great Sonic movie and a terrible Sonic movie is the same script and a video game accurate Sonic versus a not as video game accurate Sonic.
I don't know if they're redoing the animation, they can redo the, bring in Jaleel White for some
Yeah,
VO
sure,
or
shoot the
something.
movie.
Yeah, basically.
Oh,
I
my
don't know.
God. Oh, my God.
Okay.
fast.
Well, anyway, Sonic, it's going to be redone very quickly.
I can't wait for trailer number 2.
Trailer number 2 will be interesting to see what people hate about the new design.
And the people who made it are just going to be sitting there like,
Please, please, please,
Please work, please work, please work, please. What if it's just gameplay?
Yeah, just
What if the new Sonic is
game.
just gameplay from Sega?
and everybody's like, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly
just-
how I wanted it.
It's
'cause
just the wizard, but they superimpose like the new Sonic game
Yes.
on Fred Savage.
That'll be interesting. All right, well, Sonic the Hedgehog coming again soon.
But different.
Very
Or
soon,
not.
but different slightly. Who knows? Okay, anyway. Fan Friday, that means we couldn't have Fan Friday without fans, and we couldn't have fans without people that watch the show, which means thank you for watching, and if you're new to us, if this Sonic news story has pulled you in, you're probably yelling at us right now, and also, if you want to yell at us some more, you can subscribe to us. We used to be Screen Junkies News. We're now Fandom Entertainment. Different colors, some shapes, otherwise pretty much the same thing.
Same great taste.
You can like it and subscribe, hit the bell, Get notified. Thank you, Ryan. Get notified when we're doing stuff. All that crazy stuff. You know how YouTube works, probably better than we do. Thank you for watching. If you're watching, if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button, get your notifications, and also Watching Thrones, Spencer.
Yeah. You're
a co-host of that show.
I appear on that frequently.
Along with Michelle Boyd and Roth Cornet.
In this very chair.
In that very chair. We'll be back on this set. Good job, set dressers, for making this set look slightly different on Monday mornings.
Yeah, a lot of banners.
Yeah, a lot of banners. I like it. That'll be back Monday morning for episode 4. Before you watch that, though, there is a series of articles currently on Fandom.com called The Psychology of Game of Thrones. There's we've got a clinical psychologist, Dr. Drea Letamendi, to analyze 6 of the characters on Game of Thrones: Jon Snow, Daenerys, Cersei, Sansa, Tyrion, Arya. Basically, full psychological breakdown. What motivates them? Where are they going? Where are their heads right now? You can check out in the description below right now the Cersei Lannister evaluation. Possibly the most psychologically complex
narcissistic
character.
Personality disorder?
I don't think that's
others?
Probably not too far.
Who's the most psych sound? Like the person who's got it going on the most?
Strangely, I think it's the murderer Arya.
Good for her.
Yeah, I think she might be the most sound.
Self-actualized.
Yeah, self-actualization, confident.
Yeah, she was no one for a while. Now she's Arya Stark.
Yeah.
Proud of it.
Assured of her identity. Yeah.
You're proud of it?
She's proud of it.
Oh, you raised her well,
Yes, we did.
That's the weird world of Game of Thrones, where the assassin is perhaps the most sound of mind and body. She's got quite a leap, so definitely in shape.
Oh, yeah.
You can see what motivates them, where they're going. Cersei Lannister is in the description below. You can check that out, and then from there, you can read the other profiles. It's super interesting reading. Check them out right now on Fandom.com and in the description below. Game of Thrones. What are you thinking, Spencer? Episode 4. Are you looking forward to it?
I am looking forward to it. I said on Watching Thrones, and I'll say it again, the magic stuff, the Dungeons and Dragons of it all, is the least favorite part for me, and I'm really excited to see what they do in the aftermath. I think that most fantasy shows would have ended with last night's episode, but now we get to see what really goes down.
What day of the week are you on?
On what?
Last night's episode?
What day is it?
It's Friday.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
It's all one long night for you.
It's one long night, baby.
Yeah.
I asked you, I thought it'd be like a quick response, but then you're like, where am I?
Not again.
What has happened?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I saw the trailer for the next episode. Too bright.
Too bright, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not realistic. I could see what was going on.
Blue animal in the corner. Gotta redo that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not like the design of Ghost.
Sonic
I think they need to go back and redo it.
Yeah.
Sonic of House Hedgehog. No easy transition here, but a huge, both literally and metaphorically, figure in fandom and pop culture and movie history passed away earlier this week. Peter Mayhew passed away April 30th at the age of 74, alongside his family, who announced the news publicly yesterday. According to their statement, said, quote, "He put his heart and soul into the role of Chewbacca, and it showed in every frame." Mark Hamill described Mayhew as, quote, "the gentlest of giants. What was so remarkable about him was his spirit, and his kindness and his gentleness was so close to what a Wookiee is. He just radiated happiness and warmth. He was always up for a laugh, and we hit it off immediately and stayed friends for over 40 years. George Lucas released a statement saying, quote, "Peter was a wonderful man. He was the closest any human being could be to a Wookiee. Big heart, gentle nature, and I learned to always let him win." It's a good let the Wookiee win.
Yeah.
He was a good friend, and I'm saddened by his passing. Harrison Ford also put out a very touching statement. They were a team, really, for so many years. A memorial service for friends and family is going to be held in June, while a separate memorial for fans will take place in December, according to the family's statement. This is the sad part about the things we love growing in time and their legacy growing, as you start to lose people that are a part of it. Many years ago, Alec Guinness, Kenny Baker, Carrie Fisher, and now Peter Mayhew passed away. Peter Cushing. It really does. It enhances the legacy of these films, but it also makes them a little more bittersweet. Any thoughts, feelings that you want to share? Or
I mean, gosh, I didn't obviously know him personally, but to have all of your coworkers and friends and family to describe you in such glowing terms is like that's how you want to be remembered. If you could be the human equivalent of a Wookiee, that's really high praise. And he seems like the perfect fit for the character because he was just a gentle, big-hearted soul, and I hope he has found peace.
Yeah.
You talk about all the people from this franchise and, of course, many other franchises who have passed. And I think that it's pretty unbelievable that what film allows it to do. Number one, to pay respect and to look back and to have us remember him there. And then also to have the legacy live on. I think that that is exactly what somebody, and I don't know Peter, but what he would want. You know, this is a huge, massive thing for so many people out there, Star Wars. And I think for it to keep living on and people like 5-year-olds in 50 years to go back and look at that and to know that he was there, I think that that's a pretty great way to go out. 74 at this point is pretty young. So that's upsetting. But like Spencer said, everybody's kind words, they couldn't have said nicer things.
And when you read about how he got the role, he was essentially cast for his size. He was working as an orderly in a hospital. But something I didn't know that I was reading yesterday was that when he got the role, he went and studied just on his own as research animal movements to learn the and I think that's what's underrated is a lot of times when somebody has a role like that, they just think of it as a tall guy in a suit. But like there is a physicality, and one of the things that people loved about Chewbacca was his just the way he moved, the way that he showed emotion. He couldn't speak, he could verbalize, so it was all physical movement and motion, and I think that's underrated a lot of times. Peter Weller, when you read about his work as RoboCop, you think it's just a guy in a metal. Like he went through hell and back to get the physicality right. I think that is a form of acting that is underutilized and underappreciated.
Definitely.
And the other thing is when you look at so many people that I saw on Twitter yesterday that were sharing pictures with him from different conventions, and even just if you looked at his Twitter 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was talking about flying out, and he was very open about in his later years that his mobility was becoming more limited, but still making these appearances and meeting fans. And every tweet that I saw from someone that had met him or interacted with him was saying, this was he was such a nice man. It was so great to meet him. It was so great to interact with him. And like meeting him for so many people was such a life highlight. And I think it's a real gift to be able to give that kind of joy to people. So
many people comparing him to a Wookiee, a gentle giant. I mean, what a beautiful thought. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. To think that he was so much like the character, or the character was so much like him.
Yeah. The family also announced in their official statement, and you can find that on his Twitter, and also many other news outlets obviously carrying their statement, that they are starting a foundation. They asked that gifts and remembrances be given to that foundation. You can find that information through their official statement and official channels. But it's hard to put into words what somebody who's a part of such a keystone event means. So Peter Mayhew, rest in peace. What a legacy. We should all be so lucky to be a part of something that is remembered that fondly and to be such a big part. Chewbacca. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's hard to transition in and out of these things, but as I mentioned, a lot of you, the fans, we asked for your questions, and we got a lot of really good, we have 3 weeks worth of questions that are really, really awesome.
These ones are so awesome.
These are great questions, so let's get to our Fan Friday questions.
Okay, so you're in a black t-shirt there, Spenny.
Yeah, there you go.
Proof.
All right. Oh man, where to start? Let's go with there's some timely ones. So why don't we hit some of the timely ones? Laura asked, "Are you excited about Spider-Man: Far From Home? I loved Homecoming, but I feel kind of exhausted by Endgame. I feel like they should have put a small break after such an epic movie." That's actually a piggyback. There was Vanity Fair back in December reported that Marvel didn't want Spider-Man: Far From Home to come out until next year because they wanted to keep a degree of secrecy around what would happen in Avengers Endgame, but Sony essentially insisted that they needed the Spider-Man movie
Fiscal
in
quarter
theaters.
Q3 disagrees.
Exactly. So
which I get.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you think? There's two schools of thought. One, that people are going to be energized by Endgame and really be motivated to go out and see Spider-Man: Far From Home, and then Laura here saying that Endgame was such a big and emotional moment that a little more distance would be would be nice. What do you think? Where do you fall?
I mean, Homecoming wasn't a overwhelming, exhausting, intricately tied into the rest of the MCU movie. I mean, granted, it had Tony Stark in it a lot of the time, but it was at its core like a high school film with a superhero, as so many of these things are. And just like how, was it Ant-Man and the Wasp that came out after, like, ended the last phase?
After Infinity War, yeah.
Yeah, this, like, nice denouement where you have, like, just like a fun little popcorn movie after the giant event. And I think that this could just be a fun trip abroad. Maybe he and Ned take shrooms and, you know, wear a scarf by accident and, you know, get in some little hijinks, and then it's over. And it's not going to be
accurate.
Yeah, it's not going to be like super heavy and exhausting.
I kind of liken this to when I was in college and you would go home for Thanksgiving break and you would see everybody there and you're on this like absolute high, and then you leave and you go back and you're all stressed out, but you know winter break's right around the corner. So Spider-Man is my winter break. I really desperately need it. And after such an amazing and emotional Endgame movie, again, not spoiling anything, but it's a lot. I feel like if I had to wait an entire year, I would do it because I'm not entitled enough to think that I deserve this movie, but I don't want to. I would love something, a palate cleanser, something to keep the movement going and, you know, just kind of take this weight off my shoulders.
So it's like the opposite. It's almost like a pressure valve for you. It's like you release the scene, go have a good time.
Yeah, I want to see like bug-eyed Jake Gyllenhaal surfing around
Fishbowl
Venice
head.
or wherever he is. Yeah, that sounds great.
I'm excited for it because I liked the last Spider-Man movie a lot. The only thing that I will agree with Laura on is I do feel like, and obviously Marvel, I do feel like the need to market it before Endgame came out did, you know, while they didn't make clear exactly what happened, it did sort of lessen the fact of what happened in Infinity War, and then seeing Spider-Man in a trailer for his new movie before that, where there was no other. Yeah, I guess either he's fine or it's a prequel.
Yeah,
one of those two things has to be true.
Or a mirage.
Mirage, exactly.
Or a Skrull.
An Elseworld story, a Skrull, something. But yeah, that was my only thing, was that it was a little awkward for that marketing to be out while we were in the midst of what was essentially a big cliffhanger of, you know.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have not announced any movies after this.
They've said that they're working on Eternals, and they're working on Black Widow.
Panther too, right?
And Black Panther and Doctor Strange. They've said they're working on, but they haven't confirmed like this is actually happening because Kevin Feige said we're gonna wait till after Endgame.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested. I think one is fine, and if they take a little break, you know, if we go 6 months, a year, 2 years even without a Marvel movie, like let the hype build back up. You know, Endgame was such a good ending, and this would be a nice, you know, tag or epilogue.
Well, they've definitely earned that.
Yeah, they can take some time off and like instead of kind of overstaying their welcome or letting us get excited again for phase, whatever phase we're in. Four, I think.
I think we're ending phase 4, ending phase 3, entering phase 4. I don't know.
Why do we
phasing?
The last of phase 3.
When do we just have phase 1 again?
Whoa, you can't
never
go back
have
to
phase 1 again.
But is it true? Like for the next 100 years, are we gonna be at like phase 12?
Yeah.
Strap in.
Well, I mean, like you can't have season 1 of a TV show anymore.
Give me Sonic.
Give me Sonic. Give me death.
But only if his legs are skinny. Theodore asks, where do you stand on people applauding and cheering during movies like in Infinity War, not Endgame, Infinity War with Thor's entrance and Wakanda? Is it appropriate to clap and cheer? Thanks. I think so.
I mean, I love it if I agree with it, and if I don't, then you're being very rude. I think that's the honest answer. Is like if I'm also hyped up and like you're like yeah, then I'm like yeah, this guy gets it. But if I'm not into the movie and I see somebody cheer, I'm like rolling my eyes. Like,
I mean, I'm a big movie theater behavior stickler. Let's say stickler.
No.
I yelled at somebody when we saw the Game of Thrones in a theater to put their phone away during a quiet moment in the Battle of Winterfell.
You guys saw Game of Thrones in the theater?
Yeah, the Academy event was pretty amazing, and there was lots of clapping and cheering. And I have to say, it enhanced the experience to watch that with 900 people who erupted.
Yep.
I think it's absolutely appropriate when appropriate in the movie. Like, I don't think it's appropriate, for example, in the middle of, you know, I don't know,
Philadelphia.
Like,
Yeah.
I know you appreciate Tom Hanks's acting, but that's maybe not.
Trying to think of the worst movie to cheer during.
But
yeah.
movies are engineered at their best to be a communal experience, and I think that there are movies that you're supposed to do that. I don't I'm even like, I roll my eyes sometimes at clapping and cheering. Solo was an experience for me where I was just like, really, that got a clap? But I don't begrudge it. People get into it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with applause at any time. And I'm okay with what I deem to be cheering, which is one word or less. So, no sentences. I don't think anybody should ever say a sentence in a movie. When you're watching the movie,
What
in the
about
movie,
yeah?
that's one word or less.
sure.
So no or yes or oh or ah, like any of those are fine. But if you're like, "What are you doing? Sit back down. Go in the house. Why are you in the woods?" It's like that's not cheering. You're just talking. So one word or less, or any kind of bodily sounds. Well,
Any kind of bodily
not
sounds?
all kinds of bodily sounds, but anything you can do with your hands.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just mayhem. And I go to movies so often where people are yelling phrases. And why are you speaking?
Right.
You're not in the movie.
Yeah.
Get out of the movie.
So I think we're all agreed, although Roxy has a 2 words or less limit.
One word.
One word.
One word or less.
You can't
I'm
even
sorry,
say
one word.
hell
or less.
yeah. Just yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, why are you saying hell yeah?
What about?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Because like yeah comes out of you. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about like a long yeah? Like a yeah!
Sit down.
Are you taking
Sit
advantage
down.
of that
Yeah,
point?
you're taking
Okay.
advantage.
The one word rule.
One word, half second or
Yeah,
less.
that'd be creepy. Actually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So there you go. Generally in favor where appropriate.
Yeah.
Jason Zero, but with an X. Ooh, it's like a 90s comic book character.
Jason X Hero.
Zero to hero.
Asks, hey SJU, I just watched Enchanted with my family tonight and I really enjoyed it. I think it's because it made fun of the tropes of classic Disney movies while also paying homage to them. So I was wondering, what movies did you guys like because it poked fun at something you found ridiculous but also endearing? For me, Galaxy Quest is a big one.
Sure.
Because I love Star Trek, and that was very endearingly making fun of and satirizing Star Trek.
Spaceballs is mine.
I was gonna say Spaceballs.
We can both say it, Spenny.
And Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Yeah. It's like a
We're a
speed
little
round.
off.
Yeah.
Spaceballs.
Lego movie.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, really anything that falls under satire, like Blazing Saddles. I guess on the
Deadpool with
Deadpool for
Green
sure.
Lantern.
It's making fun of superhero movies while being one.
Epic movie.
Ugh.
That was a joke.
Yeah, there's a
Scary movie.
The first
one, yeah. We Came Together is a really funny rom-com satire while also being a rom-com. The joke maybe wears out before the feature film is over, but it's a good 40 minutes of comedy.
I enjoyed Isn't It Romantic? The Rebel Wilson movie that
haven't
came
seen
out.
it.
It was the one that had fun with rom-coms.
It just came out, right?
It came out in February.
Okay.
So it'll be probably on streaming soon.
2 months is
but
just no.
I liked it.
It just came out. Is that not
Just
just
in the grand scheme of movies in
Movies.
general, it just came out.
Yeah.
I will also put under this category the YouTube series Honest Trailers, available at Screen Junkies. Do you like something that pokes fun at film while also paying homage? Try Honest Trailers.
What do they talk about?
Trailers. Movies. They're movie trailers.
Oh, I should
But
check
with
that
a
out.
delightful spin.
So I was going to be a terrible employee, and I was going to say how it should have ended. Check out Hedgehog.
Yeah, check that
They're
out
great.
too. There's enough views on the internet for both of us.
There's enough views to go around.
Yeah.
Roxy, any other movies that jump to mind?
No, all the
No.
ones we talked about. Yeah.
All right.
I like that category of movies in general, though. If you can do it
Yeah.
well. If you're just poking fun of because you're not a fan, then it sucks. But if you're a fan of it and then you're poking fun of it, it's cool.
Yeah, I agree. If you guys will indulge me on this question, Chris XX, lots of X's going.
Sick.
Chris XX asks,
X.
where does Endgame rank after taking into account inflation? Is Gone with the Wind the highest box office? And then we added, in general, a quick explainer for what people mean when they say inflation when it comes to box office numbers.
Hit him with the numbers, Dan.
So what we mean when we say adjusted for inflation is basically in 1940, a movie ticket cost 25 cents, let's say, and in 2019 it cost $9 on average. So obviously, if 1 million people went to go see a movie that cost 25 cents, and if the same 1 million people went to go see a movie that cost $9, well, then the same number of people went to see it, but obviously because you paid $9 in 2019, the gross is higher. So adjusted for inflation basically puts everything on an even playing field and says, if movie tickets always cost the same amount of money that they do today, what would be the highest grossing film of all time?
Why don't they just measure by tickets sold? Do they not have record of that?
They can, and there are some films that do measure by that. That's a very excellent. That's a good metric too. Adjusting for inflation equalizes that a little bit. Domestically, the other thing is it's very tough to adjust for inflation worldwide because even year to year, the conversion rate, for example, the British pound, if a movie made £1 million in Britain, well, that could be a different number when you convert it to dollars last month than it was today. So adjusting for inflation internationally, worldwide, for American dollars is very difficult. It's a little easier domestically because we know what the dollar was worth historically. Tickets sold is, the further back you go, the worse the records get. You have less, you don't know what opening weekends were, or you just have money, which you can sort of extrapolate from the gross. But that's another thing, and I've folded it into charting a little bit. That's another interesting metric to look at. But as far as Endgame goes, right now today, as I looked at it, the grosses for Thursday aren't in yet, so this number's going to go up. But as of yesterday's gross, it is currently at number 109, just between Rear Window and The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Two very dissimilar movies.
Two very dissimilar movies. Now, if you project forward what it's going to make, what it made yesterday, and what it could make this weekend, it could end up somewhere around $600 to $625 million domestically. So by the end of this weekend, that would put it, if it was around 625, that would put it at number 40, right around Independence Day and Spider-Man.
Nice.
But as far as the all-time most money domestically adjusted for inflation, it is Gone with the Wind. It made $1.8 billion domestically if you adjust for inflation, which means that as great as Endgame is doing, it will not overtake Gone with the Wind as the highest domestic grosser.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
That makes me want to see Rhett Butler in the MCU.
What does that look like?
Frankly, Iron Man, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, there you go. The only
Iron Man, for sure.
The most recent movie in the top 10 domestic adjusted for inflation is Titanic.
Yep.
Which would have been over $1 billion domestically. Like that, Force Awakens is number 11. It didn't even make the top 10. It's like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Jaws, Dr. Zhivago, E.T., Star Wars, Gone with the Wind. Those are the top 10, and it's very rare for a movie to break into that. So if Avengers Endgame was able to break into that top 10 adjusted for inflation, even though it wouldn't be the highest grossing, that would be a massive achievement.
Do you think there's any shot?
I think there is. It would have to top. It would have to get close to $1 billion domestic. So like it would have to outgross the Force Awakens, which right now, day for day, it is substantially. And
Force Awakens is in the top 10. You said
it's almost in the top 10. Force Awakens made about $936 million domestically. The difference being that Force Awakens came out at the end of the year and it had all of Christmas and January, February, March to play out, whereas there's hefty competition coming down the road for Avengers Endgame. So the question is, not this weekend, but soon. Yeah. So the question is going to be, can it sustain against that competition? Like it has a chance to. It definitely has a chance, but it's got to keep going. So very impressive for it to be in the top 40 potentially after 2 weekends of release. It's a phenomenally successful film, and it's just going to be. It's all about longevity. How can it keep up, or is it going to start bleeding a lot of business to these other summer movies?
I think with the rewatchability, longevity is probably pretty positive for it.
I'm very curious to see what the second weekend numbers are, what the drop off is. Fandango was saying that it has like 80% more repeat business at this point than Infinity War had, which is a great sign for longevity, but it's just all about Detective Pikachu next week. How much money does that siphon off?
We'll see.
Godzilla, Aladdin. There's a lot of big movies coming out in May that are going to start drawing money away from it. So who knows? We'll see.
Cool.
But thank you, Chris, for asking about inflation.
Call him by his proper name.
Chris XX. Mm-hmm. It kind of made my day because I like talking about that stuff. Adina. Oh, this is good. Endgame and Game of Thrones. Very relevant. Adina asks, how long after a major movie comes out, or let's also, they ask about TV. How long after a major movie comes out do you think you should give a spoiler warning before talking about it? What about prestige TV like Game of Thrones?
Just the warning, or just if it's just the
spoiler warning?
I don't know. Give it a couple weeks for a movie and a week for TV.
The Russo brothers, I believe, said Monday.
The Monday after.
Now,
yeah.
No, this upcoming Monday.
This upcoming
I believe
Monday.
the Russo brothers said for them the spoiler firewall drops on this next Monday.
But it's just a warning. A warning doesn't cost much. It's just some air out of your vocal cords. You know, spoiler warning. That wasn't that hard. But as far as not giving that anymore, and just saying like, remember when blank happened?
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks for movies and a week for TV. But also just know what you're getting into. Like, don't watch the recap of the episode you haven't seen. You know, don't watch you can usually see from the title, or we talk about up front what we'll be talking about.
I think with a spoiler warning, you have until the Monday after the movie, and with a spoiler warning, you have until the day after the TV show.
Yeah.
If you're
So
saying,
you're saying Tuesday, the weekend after, you can say no spoiler warning and just yell out what happens in the movie.
No. I'm saying that you shouldn't spoil anything.
Sure.
Like, you should not talk about Endgame the weekend that it's going on. You should not put spoilers on Twitter and Instagram, maybe late Sunday night, Monday. If you say, spoiler alert, you can post something there. And the same thing for TV, but the next day. I think if you're not saying spoiler, if you're just saying a spoiler, for a movie, I think you should wait a month. I mean, it takes people a while to go see something, and I think for TV, maybe a week or 2 weeks.
Publicly, yeah. But we have a friend, we have a mutual friend, who I won't name, that I've seen is very upset, like during Game of Thrones, is on Twitter talking about how upset they are that Game of Thrones is being spoiled on Twitter. But it's like, but you're on Twitter, and you know that Game of Thrones is on, so
you can watch it on your phone right now.
Yes,
I don't
you
have
can stay off
stay off Twitter
for a couple of hours.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that get things spoiled online for them. I have more sympathy. Like, have you guys been seeing all these videos of people walking up to students, and like one student walking up to another student and being like, "This is what happens in Endgame."
They should be arrested.
And then, well, they're getting punched in the face and stuff. I mean, there's like huge
It's just
fights.
a prank, bro. It's just
I don't
There's
condone
massive
that.
fights that are going on in schools and people are walking into movie theaters as Endgame is starting,
Hey.
and they're screaming out spoilers for Endgame. I mean, those people are the scum of the earth to me right now.
That is
It's so rude.
It's cruel.
But it's cruel.
beyond rude. It's
So,
cruel.
I think, in person, you should not be giving spoilers like that. But if you do what we do, or you're online and you're watching something, you want to be part of a community, I think if you're a regular Joe and you're in Mississippi and you're watching Game of Thrones and you want to go on Twitter and talk about it, I think you should be able to do that. And I think that if you are Alice in Nantucket, I don't know why she lives in Nantucket, but she does, and you're pissed that you got it spoiled, get offline. Like, get off the Twitter. So that's how I feel.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think the big
there's-
thing to our friend Joe Starr is that, Joe, just stay off Twitter, man. Unless you want to hear when Game of Thrones is on the air. I feel you, man, and we miss you.
Oh,
I hope you're enjoying
I didn't
your
see
PTO.
he tweeted about that.
I didn't see that either.
Yeah, he was a little upset that Game of Thrones was being spoiled.
Mike
Which I
Kalinowski as
understand,
well.
but you gotta. I
With
think
TV,
you have to stay off the Twitter.
it's so communal, you know.
Yeah,
TV
it's a
is
communal
like,
experience.
Is like we're all. There's a reason it's called the water cooler show, because like we used to all stand around a water cooler and be like, "Did you see Cheers last night? I can't believe what Coach did on Cheers. I don't know."
Good one.
Yeah.
And don't tag people in it. Don't tag
Well,
them.
no, don't
Yeah.
go out of your way to spoil somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, if you're watching it live, you're allowed to say whatever you want.
It's like 80-20. I think it's like an 80-20 responsibility. It's like 80% on people not to be cruel and spoil things, and then I think you have to take like a 20% personal responsibility thing of also avoiding certain areas where you know you're likely to be spoiled. It's a split, but I think the onus is still on the don't spoil it for others
Agreed.
part. All right. Well, you know what? Let's end with one last question, because I liked this question. We were talking about Star Wars. We talked about so many things. The communal experience. Chris asked, and I think we've answered this question before, but it's always a fun question. What movie would you want to go back in time and see when the film was originally released?
Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
Oh, what a
pretty
cool
mind-blowing.
experience that would be.
True.
Oh my God. To be in a theater and see, I mean, oh, I love that movie in general, but experiencing that for the first time like that with color and that would be everything.
I like that choice. Spencer?
I'll go even further back to that, was it the Great Train Robbery?
When people fled the theater?
And the train is coming at you.
I'd never seen a moving image before, and I went to the first premiere of the first film, more or less. It was just like, oh my God, a train! And then just booked it out of the theater. That'd be really cool for me. Or Star Wars.
That
Star
would
Wars
be
would be fun.
unreal.
Star Wars would be pretty crazy. Do you think there was? That's a good question. Do you think there was clapping and applause? I guess there was, I'm sure there was clapping and applause in
For
Star
the train
Wars.
one? Oh.
For the
More
train,
like
screaming,
yeah.
running. Yeah.
What the? I guess I would allow a couple words if you thought a train was coming at you.
Yeah,
More than one word.
Never seen a movie before.
Yeah. What's happening? 2 words. You get 2 words. Yeah, I think that
Look
there's
out,
applause
darling,
for Star
it's a
Wars.
train.
Yes, yes, for sure.
There's someone on Twitter, I forgot, they put out, there was a vintage recording of an audience during Halloween when it first came out.
that was great.
amazing. Like, oh man, that would have been cool to sit and listen to that. I think like a Star Wars or... I'm also such a nerd that I'm curious about Wizard of Oz because like we always assume that movies always looked and were projected the way that they are now. Like I want to know like in 1939 like what did a movie look like? What did it sound like? What was that experience like? Because the technology was not the same.
No.
You had, you were switching between projectors and I've always just wanted to know like what was the experience of actually going to a movie? Smoke filled. We know that.
Yep.
Lots of smoke.
So better.
Everybody's smoking.
Everyone's smoking, but like just the popcorn and the experience. I'd love to go back and relive that.
So cool.
Yeah.
You watch some thing beforehand to go buy war bonds or something like that.
Exactly. But wow, news on the march.
Yeah, you have to watch the news before the movie instead of a million ads.
Yeah, well, that's how people saw it.
Yep.
That's also the weird thing was the idea that like to see it during World War II, to see any kind of image from the war, you had to go to the movies.
Yeah.
Like a moving image, there's no television. You listen to the radio, you read the newspaper. But if you wanted to see the boys in blue, well, that's
Whatever
police
they were in.
officers, whatever.
Guys in green.
But you had to go to the movies.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me to think about. Like, obviously, that was a filtered version often of what was going on, but still. I would love that experience. So I'm with you, Roxy. Something back in the 30s or 40s, just for the experience, would be awesome. Maybe a Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Well, there you go. That's our show. Thank you, fans, for sending us such great Fan
good.
Friday questions.
We'll
Please
get to the
keep it
rest
up
next week.
Yeah, we might just port some of these over to next week because these are some really good questions. Spencer J. Gilbert,
Howdy.
thank you for joining us. Anything you want to plug?
The weekend. Have a great one.
Spencer plugging the weekend. Roxy, Fan Friday.
Sounds wrong. Spencer just
Plugging
plugged
the weekend.
Plug the
Plugging away.
weekend. No.
No.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
We botched this so bad. Yeah, go see Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm really invested in it. I don't know. You can find me at Roxy Striar. I'll tell you about everything I'm doing there.
Awesome. And you can watch, there's an Avengers Endgame movie fights over on the Screen Junkies channel. That is a spoiler fight with Ed Greer, Matt Key, and Koi Jandro. That was a lot of fun. Watching Thrones on Monday. Later today here on Fandom Entertainment, I'm going to put out a review for Long Shot, which is hitting theaters with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron this weekend. I'm excited to review that, and I think it's a movie you should check out. Spoiler alert.
I do too.
And other than that, I will also plug the weekend and say have a good one, and we'll see you back here on Screen Junkies Universe on Monday. Till next time, thanks for watching.